That trailer got me, I have to admit. The trailer for Air, the new movie directed by Ben Affleck and starring Matt Damon, Affleck. We've got Chris Tucker in this movie, Jason Bateman, Marlon Wayans, Viola Davis, and a bunch of other really competent supporting actors in here. The movie's set in the 80s, and it's the story of Nike courting a young and up-and-coming NBA rookie called Michael Jordan to their company so that they can make him their star. And they want to do a lot more than just bring him aboard and pay him an endorsement fee. They want to actually create a whole shoe line and a whole kind of lifestyle brand around Michael Jordan. And this is the tale of how that all came together. And the movie really focuses on Sonny Vaccaro, played by Matt Damon, who is this basketball savant who has been able to clearly define who are going to be the most important players out there. But at this time in Nike's history, basketball has not been a successful product line.
Our basketball division is terrible.
I do not love it.
Through the haze of all of these different opportunities and all of these up-and-coming players, Vaccaro sees that Michael Jordan is going to be the most incredible athlete in this sport. And so he's like a heat-seeking missile trying to bring Michael Jordan and his family, specifically his mother, played by Viola Davis, aboard and convince them that Nike is the right company for them. And along the way, Vaccaro's got to deal with budget issues. He's got to deal with the pressures and the constraints of this new bureaucracy, because Nike isn't a small company at this point. It's already grown into a billion-dollar enterprise. And so he is slamming his head against the wall trying to convince people, specifically Philip Knight, played by Ben Affleck, who is the CEO of Nike and the founder of Nike, that the investments to bring Michael Jordan aboard will be well worth it. And of course, we all know how that turns out. There's no real suspense here. We know that the Air Jordan shoe and the Air Jordan product line becomes incredibly successful and makes Michael Jordan tons of money and makes Nike billions and billions of dollars, and that partnership exists and it's still flourishing, and you can still walk into the shoe store and pick up a pair of Air Jordans and spend a ton of money on some really cool shoes. That's been the story around Air Jordan since the beginning, but it is kind of a fascinating story to dig into because we haven't really seen on screen the inner workings of Nike back then, and they're dealing with all of this 1980s technology and people waiting by payphones and by landlines. There's a big novelty of a car phone in one of the sequences in the movie, and everybody does a competent job in their roles for sure. I just felt like there was an opportunity to get a little bit bigger with this, get a little bit more comedic when you have giants like Chris Tucker and Marlon Wayans in there who are just so equipped to fill the screen with some really clever, humorous elements. They're not utilized to their full extent, and everybody kind of is a little bit underplayed, and it's sort of played for hyper-realism. It's a little bit more glower, this movie, than all the fun-filled sort of B-roll imagery of like old Coleco handheld video games and old computers and, crazy 80s kitsch projects that this movie's going to be. In fact, the trailer does an incredible job at selling the fun of this movie, and the fun really isn't there. It's really kind of gray muted, and Matt Damon's character is just so beaten down. He just doesn't really like himself, and we're really dealing with these middle-aged guys kind of thinking that we've got one more shot at this. It's one more shot or we're all doomed and we're all out of jobs. And I don't know, I just felt like the stakes in the movie didn't really seem that high or that scary or that challenging. It's a bunch of middle-aged dudes worrying about whether they're going to have these cushy, great jobs or not. And I thought Ben Affleck as Phil Knight was kind of fun. He's kind of the Zen guru who has made tons and tons of money and is trying to kind of deal with the fact that he is running this massive company, even though he came from this kind of rogue attitude. And that's what Sonny Vaccaro, Damon's character, is always reminding him of, is that, look, we used to take chances here. But honestly, the movie just feels like it's kind of trying to squeeze drama where there really isn't a lot of drama. I love the fact that we're putting these people, some of these characters on screen, and we're getting to know their names. Like Pete Moore, who actually designed the first Air Jordan, is immortalized in this movie, which I thought was pretty cool. He's played by Matthew Mayer, and he's really solid in this movie. I can't fault the performances. I can't fault the idea. One thing that's absolutely weird about this thing, though, is that we don't get to see Michael Jordan. Like, it's not a tale from Michael Jordan's perspective. It's all from the perspective of this huge conglomerate, this international behemoth of a company, even though it's a small fish compared to the more successful Adidas and Converse at the time. They're still a juggernaut in the business, and they make tons and tons of money. And so it's from this huge corporation trying to make tons and tons more money. And Michael Jordan is just painted as this second coming. He's just a massive, incredible, greatest athlete of all time kind of human, but we don't get to see him and we don't hear him. And the movie takes great pains not to even show the actor who's playing Michael Jordan's face. It's more about the family and Viola Davis specifically grappling with the decision to pull the trigger on whether this is going to happen or not. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity. And it also felt a little bit weird for me too, because Michael Jordan is my favorite athlete. I was watching basketball religiously back then. I was blown away that I got to come up in an era where we watched Michael Jordan play week in, week out. And he was incredible. He is incredible. He's an amazing human being. Of course, I watched The Last Dance and loved all of that. And it just felt like I have this understanding of Jordan. I'm a fan, and I've been there all the time. And it just felt a little weird to hear all of this chatter about him and all of this propping up about him. And he's not an ingredient in it. You know, it felt a little bit strange, like there was a missed opportunity there. I felt like the movie would have been a better one if we had got a little bit deeper into it and saw a little bit of the drama from a human perspective of what these decisions were going to mean. I hate to just paint it as like it's a big commercial for Nike or the Air Jordan brand or anything like that, but it definitely has wafts and waves of that. It's fun, but the trailer, not only it does a good job at kind of marketing what this movie is about, it kind of serves the purpose of the movie. The trailer is kind of enough in a way, you know? There are definitely great, cool moments in there. It's not Damon's best work. It's not Affleck's best work. I felt weirdly also like the movie echoes some of the made-for-TV movies that we would have got in the 80s. Not only is it kind of celebrating and honoring the inventiveness and the creativity that came out of the 80s, but this felt like something that was made in the 80s, this movie in a way. Maybe the most interesting character in the movie and the actor that's having the most fun and has the most fire to spit is Chris Messina as an agent named David Falk. He's really fun on screen, and there's some great back and forth between Damon and Messina that was really enjoyable to watch. But it's certainly not a Jerry Maguire. There wasn't really this connection with the people that you fall in love with them. And that's a bit of a missed opportunity because it could have been dramatized a little bit more. It's almost like you can feel the strings attached to how much they could say and how much they could reveal and how dramatic they could make all of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, it just shines a positive light on all of the stuff that Nike worked towards and all of the stuff that Jordan worked towards and all the money that they all made together. So it's a celebration of that. I had fun with it because I've always been a fan and I've always been interested in this story, but I don't think this will be the most memorable work from the people that are involved. I'm going to give Air a 7 out of 10.